It used to be if you thought, well, if you live in the city, you expect to be polluted. So you move to the country to drink fresh water and breathe clean air. Well, it isn't true anymore. And a lot of the rural areas we work on are actually more damaged and more polluted from everything, from glyphosate, from factory farming. But now they're getting these 5G towers everywhere. Here in Minnesota, 6G.
I was just actually up in New York State. People who live in the city kind of understand that they're getting radiated. The EMF, the 5G, everything is really high. And people ask me all the time, farmers, people who live rural, they're out of the city. They think, well, am I getting zapped at all? I'm out in the country. And I was in New York and I was testing someone's farm. He was 30 miles from a nearest airport, and he was getting hit with the radar on his farm, 30 miles away. And then the closest cell towers are about 3 to 5 miles, totally getting hit. We have the EMF meters that can pick those things up. We have the devices that can measure the energy quality on a farm, and we can see the signatures. So then I had someone call me yesterday. He had power lines going through his farm that he just purchased, and he wondered, am I going to have a problem there? The reality is, of course, because everything is frequency and energy, and the electricity is causing a stress response. Marcus, you mentioned inflammation. And it's not just people, it's plants, it's animals, it's the insects, it's the worms, it's the entire environment. There was a study a couple of years ago that showed the effect of this on wildlife and why this is, I think, one of the biggest issues the world is facing. We're all facing it, no matter where we live. But Will, we've seen some tremendous changes when a farmer decides and says, you know what, I am going to start to include EMF protection in my farming. And I think that's the biggest hurdle, is that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a generation ago, my grandpa didn't have to worry about EMF protection when he farmed. Mm-hmm. So I'm still farming the same land. I'm farming like he was. Why do I need to do that now? Well, the change in electrodensity or pollution, the radiation, is off the chart. It's 1 with 18 zeros behind it, times stronger today than it was in 1900. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely off the chart, and it's everywhere. And we're the frog being boiled in the pot of water. We don't notice it, but our animals do. Their pregnancy rates are changing, their conception patterns, they're not going into heat. The bees aren't homing, they're not signaling as well, they're not producing the honey. And even the photosynthesis in our plants are lowered, and for multiple reasons. Mm-hmm. But Will, I'd like you to speak. You're a livestock veterinarian. You've been working on farms. You have a lifetime, thousands of farms. And these people who have chosen to put these conditioners, what have you seen?
And by the way, the first thing I tell them is that this is new. Your dad didn't have to deal with this, your grandpa. But I say, here's the deal. If you have a boat with 10 holes in it and you fix 9 of them, you're still going to go down. This is another hole in your boat that you have to fix, even though you're not aware of it. I have to say, Ted, I had a agricultural experience that changed my life. This was 25 years ago. I was in Old San Juan. Went to a restaurant, and the waiters have bow ties, and it's just like time warp. I got eggs for breakfast in Old San Juan, and I am a guy who doesn't eat runny eggs. I cook the yolk totally solid until that day. I had that egg in Old San Juan, runny, put it in my mouth, and I had a life-changing experience. I will never forget that minute that I tasted that egg with all that energy, and that yolk was bright orange, and it just filled me with energy. And to that day, 25 years ago, I have never cooked an egg hard since that experience. And that means that the chickens in Jamaica in that day were getting better oxygen. They were getting better. The plants had more chlorophyll. And that experience would not happen to me today with modern agriculture. That was only 25 years ago. I had an egg that changed my life forever. And then the other thing, I lived there, a lot of the locals would feed me what they called game fowl, which is, the wild chickens that are running around. And it's very common for people to put a little bit of corn underneath their window right on the road. And they had a little string around there. And when the game fowl would step in there, they whoop, here's breakfast. Here's a chicken in your skillet. Those chickens, unbelievable flavor, unbelievable flavor, and free, of course. But that was my experience that you can't have today. And many of the farmers that Dan and I run into here, the first thing they tell us on the phone, they say, I don't understand this. I'm the fourth generation farmer. We never had problems like this. And I haven't changed anything. And now my cows won't come into heat. And the chickens aren't laying eggs. And I haven't done anything different. What happened? What's wrong? So then we have to be the bearers of bad news. We have good news too. But the bad news is you have a force that's operating on your farm that you didn't cause. It has nothing to do with your farming ability, with your animals, but someone is putting pressure on you that you've never had before. The good news is we have the plates that you were holding up, and Dan does something that no one else does that I've ever seen in agriculture. He gives you the opportunity to try it basically with no risk. You have 90 days and you're going to see something. Everybody, unless they're crazy, will see something if you have your eyes open. We reference the dairy farmers a lot because dairy farmers do something the other farmers don't do. They keep records. They have accurate records every day. They have the bulk tank. How many pounds of milk did she make today versus yesterday versus a year ago? So they keep these records and they pay attention to it because it's their lifeblood. They know how much mastitis she has because they check the somatic cell count almost every day. They know how much butter fat she makes. They check that every day because that's how they make money on. That's gold to a farmer. The other farmers may or may not see it. And the sad thing is I work mostly with cattle farmers. They're sitting at the coffee shop all day, and if they see their cattle, it's out the window of their pickup, so they may or may not notice it. If they measure things, and I do, our home farm, we have a scale on site, so we can measure how many pounds of gain those steers made. We know it's like when we do things right in the winter here, they can gain 3 pounds a day. In the summer, 6 pounds a day. But I guarantee you, if they're not using those plates of Dan's, that's going to be significantly less, 20-25% less. They may not be broke and they may not all die, but it's a serious loss of money in your pocket, loss of animal health.
That's kind of what I wanted to tee up on is, hey, we're all about detoxing and I still use the plate. Why? Because we are aware that this new EMF pollution is something we have to detox as well. It's this new reality, this new thing that we all have to take into consideration. If you're not protecting yourself from EMF or your farm or your homestead, your garden, you're missing a big thing. You might think you're rural when you have the neighbor's house is half a mile away. But if they have a cell phone or 5 in their home and you have 5 phones in your home, you have 10 sources of EMF right there, not even considering the cell towers, the power lines, the radar, the Wi-Fi, the radio towers. So you start to get a picture of how this pollution really explodes and becomes a cloud that is blocking the quality light that our bodies really need. And why then plates like these that allow the body to get harmonized. We have the studies within 10 minutes, your body's being harmonized. You may or may not feel that, but the body's energy, the vitality is starting to shift. And then long term, you have the repair and restore aspect of the body, detoxing and healing itself, right? We're just creating this environment that's mitigating the effects of the EMF pollution. And because of the way we've done it, we can have plates that are this size for yourself. You have the light towers, or you have the geofill conditioners that cover whole farms and whole large areas. I mean, even some small towns have got in together with the city council to purchase one for their town because they saw the need for it around their grade school. I run a nonprofit. I don't run a business to make money. It's a nonprofit. It's not about surviving, it's about thriving. Too many of us have spent our whole lifetime just trying to survive when God desired that we thrive. And that's why we're here today. And that's why we're talking about these things. There are a lot of topics and that cross boundaries, continents, and geographic areas it's affecting all of us now. The health, the health of our children, the health of our world. Look, God gave us something to steward. And we are helping show people how to steward. It's a responsibility that we all have. And it's a responsibility we all take very seriously. And if we slow down and we take into that opportunity just to stay aware of our surroundings, stay aware of the energy in ourselves and in our environment, the truth will reveal itself. The light will shine the path for us, and we'll walk down that path, and we will be good stewards, and we'll be told, well done, because we did what we were given, what we were charged to do. We were given a work, given a job, and we were doing that. And we can live in two different systems, right? There can be a system that is going down this evil kind of overbearing control tech phase that is sweeping the world right now. But we don't have to let that affect our property, our farm, ourselves, our family. We can live in that other system. So let's do it. Let's make the choice to live healthy, live pure, live right, and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Love our plants as we love ourselves. Love our animals, right? So let's do it together. So thanks for being here today. If you are watching this, please share this. This is an incredibly important show, an important topic. But this show today is going to wake a lot of people up and give them an awareness and a hope that, yes, they can take a step forward into a brighter future. Look, my shirt says, Essential Energy, let your light shine brighter. That's the name of the game. So shine bright today. Thank you very much for being a part of it.
Thank you, man.